Hello. How's it going? Let me just turn on the volume here and then we can go. Right, insert Paul Watson meme. What a shocker. I'm actually a little bit shocked and I'll tell you why. I think it was during the Brazilian elections. The ones that happened. How many years ago was it when Bolsonaro was running? I think it was like 3. But anyway, Facebook was really mad because they had like this war room. I'm not even kidding, right? The social media company had the war room in order to monitor elections in Brazil to scout for misinformation. Why is an American company concerned with what is going on in Brazil? It's like, imagine if the phone company before the election, they would hire people to listen in to what people's phone conversations are like. It would be weird, wouldn't it? Imagine if they would hire the postal workers to check your packages and check your mail to see if you didn't write any of that pesky misinformation. But as this is going on, Facebook gets really upset. And the reason they get upset is because they couldn't check on WhatsApp. And a lot of Bolsonaro supporters were communicating with each other on WhatsApp. And Facebook was livid. Because, yes, Facebook owns WhatsApp, but they bought the technology from another company. And that other company allegedly made WhatsApp in a way that is encrypted end-to-end. So Facebook didn't know how to listen to it. At least that's how the story goes. But let me just close the window because it's getting really cold in here. I gotta say, I really hate the winter, and I really hate the fact that the gas prices are going up. Heating the apartment is going to be a little bit more difficult now. I'm not showing skin. I unplugged the webcam. The cats were chewing the cable, so I pulled it out, and I'm not putting it back in. But, alright, talking about WhatsApp. So, the main problem with this, at least in Romania, I don't know if it's the same in other places of the world, more people are using WhatsApp than they use the traditional text messages. And I think it's because on WhatsApp you can show video clips, you can share links, you can do a lot of stuff which you can't do with normal texting. But the thing with normal texting, at least in Romania, is that the phone company doesn't listen in. And it's the principle of the matter. It's not that I have things to hide, but I don't know what Zuckerberg is texting on his phone, so why would I want him to know what I'm texting on my phone? I don't like this level of relationship. I do not consent. So the moment Zuckerberg makes his conversations public to me, I will make mine public to him. You know, I want to see if Zuckerberg is posting some misinformation. I want to see if he's posting some spicy memes. Why is this thing where it's just a one-way street? So because of that, I'm not using WhatsApp anymore. Anyone that contacts me on WhatsApp, I'll just call them. I had like several people, like the moment they just contact me. The only reason I would use WhatsApp, I guess, is to share my location. Usually you have like delivery people, and I live in the goddamn middle of nowhere. So if you have like a delivery person and like, how do I get there? Boom, share my location, and then they know. But other than that, like, no, I don't want to use it. For the simple purpose that I do not consent. I do not agree to this bullshit. And I'm really curious, like, what would happen if you had a company, you know, someone working at a corporation, talking about company secrets over WhatsApp because, hey, you know, it's end-to-end encrypted, right? Wouldn't it be interesting if they would sue? But apparently, Facebook has 1,000 workers. I guess, you know, like the good thing about censorship, like Styx Hexenhammer keeps asking, like, hey, what is the good thing about censorship? Tell me what censorship was done in human history for a good thing. It creates jobs, Styx. Creates jobs. In a dying economy, it creates jobs. I wonder if they can outsource the censorship to China. Huh? They're the real experts. Although at this point, I don't know. Like, which one is more expert at censoring? Is it the Chinese government or is it the American corporations? It's a little bit confusing. Government has trust issues. I only use Skype to message people. I don't use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. Yeah, so what I noticed is that the social apps that you use is very different based on the country you live in. For example, in Romania, almost everyone uses WhatsApp and almost everyone uses Facebook. So you're pressured by the people around you to use these systems. In Romania, almost no one uses the Twitter. There's a couple of people that do, but it's not as popular as it is in the US. So it really depends on where you are, I suppose. Oh, look, the Warhawk, Abdi Mohammed, has joined the chat. Welcome, Abdi. Make yourself comfortable. We're going to be talking about a non-controversial subject now. It's interesting because I consider it non-controversial and almost everyone considers it non-controversial, but Facebook does it anyway. So, WhatsApp promises of private messages with end-to-end encryption appears to have been false, investigation reveals. When Facebook purchased the popular message app for $19 billion. Yeah, see, this is another thing. A lot of people say, well, I'm going to make a company and it's going to compete with Facebook. And this is why you're not going to get like the free market working on its own. Because you make something that could rival one of the big tech giants, and then you get a knock on your door. It's like, how would you like $19 billion for that app? Like, no, seriously, what person would say no? Like, what person in their right mind would say no to that? You have someone knocking at your door. It's like, I got $19 billion. With $19 billion, you're never going to need a single cent in your entire life. In fact, $19 billion, I don't think your kids are going to need anything. Or your grandchildren. Unless the Great Reset happens and then, yeah, the money becomes worthless. But what I'm trying to say is that very few people are going to say no when they're being given an offer like this. Because you can start another business with this money. You can do something else. And this is why Facebook is also in the crosshairs right now. They're being sued by the US government, and they're going to have to sell off Instagram and WhatsApp if they lose. So that's something interesting. They want to break apart Facebook. But anyway, right, so not only did they hire 1,000 workers to shift through millions of messages on WhatsApp, I mean, just imagine if the government would do this. Now, the government wouldn't do this because it's a violation of human rights, it's a violation of privacy. And the reason the government doesn't do this is because the people who live in the United States, the government of the people, by the people, decided that this is not a good way to live in. Unfortunately, the founding fathers and the people in the past didn't think about the idea that technology is going to manage to get to a point where tech companies will be willing to do this instead of the government. Because I'm pretty sure if they did, they would probably regulate against it as well. I'm not against, by the way, for the police to look into someone's messages or mail or whatever. But you need a court order in order to do this. You need to have a judge, the Senior Juge Dredd, and he signs the paper. Without the paper, you shouldn't just be willy-nilly going through people's messages. How is America a free country, by the way? Like, more and more I'm trying to figure this shit out. So the idea, so it's a private company, it can do it. Okay. It's a private Taliban. You know, this is what the Taliban needs to do. Like, they shouldn't form the government. They should call themselves the Private People Militia. And get money through taxes or something. Or you know, like charge people for protection. Yes. And then it's a private company. It can do whatever. In the report, ProPublica found that Facebook had hired contractors in Texas, Dublin, Ireland, Singapore to look at millions of pieces of users' content. These hourly workers use special Facebook software to sift through streams of private messages. My God, can you imagine that job? Literally going through people's trash. And videos that had been reported by the users as inappropriate then screened by the company AI intelligence system. So what I genuinely think is happening, this is my take. I don't think that Facebook has broke the encryption on the WhatsApp. And the reason they haven't is because the way of WhatsApp being designed was so that the encryption is end-to-end. Like, it's built in the software, so they can't. But what they do is, like, if you report someone on WhatsApp, then you're like basically sending it from your phone to Facebook. So they require snitches. They require snitches in order to do their job. The snitch. These contractors pass judgment on whatever flashes on their screen. Claims of everything from fraud or spam to child pornography and potential terrorist plotting. Typically in less than a minute. So, while I understand that these are very noble causes to pursue, I do wonder, because I'm not an expert on this, all right? But I'm curious, do people who plan terrorist attacks, do they do it over the phone? Or do they do it face to face? Because, I've seen movies. I'm not an expert, but I've seen movies. And usually, like, on the movies, they're like, let's not talk on the phone. Like, on the movies, like, let's meet somewhere private where we can discuss things further. Now, in Romania, I gotta say, a lot of corruption. Certain people are accused of corruption. And I happened to, went to the University of Medicine and the University of Law. Some of the students there were the children of important parents. And some of those kids, they would have, like, the old phones, like, not smartphones. And I was like, why do you have this? Like, you have a lot of money. Why don't you buy something new? It's because they're listening on the new phones. And at the time, I thought that they're insane. But now, I don't know what to think. Now I think the pigeons are going to be like the John Wick. You're going to use carrier pigeons. No one can intercept it. No one can trace it. No one can suspect it. Yeah, people might go back to the telegraph if this keeps going on. Because here's the thing that really bothers me. And no one talks about this. Like, do the people that legitimately commit bad shit, do they actually use social media to commit the bad shit? Like, I'm talking, the worst of the worst, like the Nice attacks, I can't say 9/11 because back then, like, social media didn't exist, but at least that is the way it is now. But like the people that are like the mobsters and all of do they use like the internet? I don't think they're that dumb. I mean, I don't think Don Corleone goes on WhatsApp and orders the new hit. I might be wrong. Can you imagine if a politician does that? Can you imagine just the amount of power Facebook can have? It's like, oh yeah, so we have your private messages here, Mr. Politician. Here's some legislation we'd like you to pass. And we can make all of these texts go away until we're going to need you again. Like, don't you think this is a little bit too much power into the hands of a private company? Just a little bit too much. This is how they catch the amateur terrorists. I mean, I'm really curious, like, how many did they catch, right? Like, it would be an interesting thing to see, like, all right, so we invaded on your privacy, we stepped down on your human rights, but these are the results. This is how much safety you gain. Well, bot Zors, yes, but it can also be funded by foreign states, so... Real terrorists use Facebook. No, they use Twitter because I understand the Taliban have Twitter accounts, don't they? I'm curious if they have the blue check mark as well. Private company isn't at all comparable to a government. Abdi, you're using outdated ideology, all right? If you live in 2021, if you live in a big city, and you happen to live in a first world nation, you probably want a job. Unless you want to be on welfare. If you want a job, the first thing that they do here in my country, they ask you for a credit card. Okay? So they ask you to make a bank account. They don't give you the money in hand anymore. So once you do that, you have to work with the private company. And then you're required to also have insurance. Again, you're forced to work with the private company. And then, when you're on a job, they tell you, yeah, we want you to be on a Facebook group because this is where we're going to communicate. So if we need you, you need to be on this Facebook group. So now you have to use Facebook. Now, you can say this is voluntary. I kind of agree, technically. But if you say voluntary, well, I guess paying your taxes is also voluntary, right? Because you can choose not to. I mean, sure, you're going to go to prison, but you can choose not to. It's the same thing. It's like, well, you can choose not to get a job, but you're going to starve to death. So no, I really don't believe that the ideology that you're espousing can be applied in modern day, right? If you were in the Wild West right now, maybe you'd have a point. But when you join, for example, in my neighborhood, everyone wants to have a WhatsApp group so we can communicate more easily. And, this constrains you to use it, or you're held out of the loop. Now, this is just an example, but apparently, when you send your kid to school, you're supposed to use WhatsApp. Apparently, when, and we're talking about Romania, when you get a job, you're supposed to use WhatsApp. Now, I just want to point out that imagine the case where a politician uses WhatsApp, and it's a corrupt politician, right? And let's say that he does some, illegal dealings, which ends up with $1 million taxpayer money in his pocket. And Facebook sees that, right? Do you think that Facebook is unlikely to tell the politician, hey, look, we got your message of corruption. Can you pass this legislation for us? How do you define force? Also, the government is coercing me to pay taxes or be locked up. Well, yeah, I mean, the social media is coercing me. That's why my job is coercing me to use social media or I can get fired. I mean, so many corporations do that. But again, like, you're failing to understand that we're moving towards fascism, which is a merger of corporation and government. In other words, the corporation does what the government can't do, and in exchange, the government protects the corporations. Like, for example, if you look at the United States, not only do you have the White House spokesperson saying what social media should do and saying that they have a task force that works with the social media, but on top of that, if you look at the American politics, you will see that a lot of leftists threaten the social media platforms with regulations unless they censor more. I mean, it's out in the open. There's like, and you come here with a libertarian ideology as if we're in the Wild West. So no, I definitely do not agree with it. Again, maybe if there were different times, maybe if the situation was different, I would see the light. But I'm looking at the world how it is now, how it should be. Snapchat exists. No, I don't think I'm reaching you. I don't think you're understanding what I'm telling you. If you get a job in Romania at a corporation, they will tell you need to use WhatsApp. Okay? Like, they outright tell you. Like, it's part of your agreement to join the job. If this is not constrained, I don't know what it is. Anyway, is the complete inverse of fascism? I don't know. Still, what I do know is that the government is not allowed to read your private correspondence, but a social media is allowed to use your private correspondence. And you have people like Abdi Muhammad saying, well, private company can do whatever it wants. I looked at how difficult it was to build my house. Like, they had to use certain types of bricks. They had to use certain type of cement. The insulation for the house had to be of a certain type. I mean, there were just so many regulations when it came about how to build a house. It's very interesting, right? If you look at the way the social media are regulated, they literally are the Wild West. I guess it's social media, the hedge funds, and a couple of other institutions that you can definitely say, oh yes, they're living the libertarian dream. But everything else is regulated to high heaven. Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down in this conversation. So apparently, like a private company can also tell users that their conversation is private while hiring 1,000 people to check on those conversations. I guess lying to the market is also private company, can do whatever it wants. By the way, like I'm really curious. No, hold on. In an alternate dimension, like if the Terminator was real, I think Abdi Muhammad would come there and say, no, Sarah, you're not allowed to stop Skynet. It's a private company. It can do whatever it wants as a Terminator is stepping down on your back. I definitely think like this would make for a really good movie. It's the Terminator, the part 2. This is how it would make a good Terminator film. You have Terminator is sent back in time to protect Sarah Connor, and Sarah goes to destroy Skynet. But you also have another soldier from the alternative reality, Abdi Muhammad, arming himself up as he tries to stop Sarah Connor from destroying Skynet, because Skynet is a private company and it can do whatever it wants. Would you guys watch that movie? I would think I might get an Oscar for it. I think it would be a really interesting movie. You know, the left would also like it. It would show the excesses of capitalism. It would even be like people voluntarily downloading Skynet onto their tablets. That's how I would do it. See, there's a little bit delay in the chat, so I need to see what people say to my movie. If they would buy tickets, if I would get butts in seats. Private company, they can do whatever they want. The Catholic Church is a corporation. I don't think the private church is a corporation. No, Abdi wouldn't be the Terminator. Abdi would be an ally of the Terminators. Like, Abdi would get terminated as well. It's like, no. He would just try to defend Skynet. That is his prerogative. Hasta la vista, Abdi. Oh my god, I would have to put that line in. Yes, it would be like, hasta la vista, Abdi. Abdi is just a Skynet defender, yes. In this reboot, Skynet is a social media app. Yes, it would actually be spread across, like people would have to voluntarily install Skynet. And it would be really good, like it helps you with a lot, but it would also gather information about human activity. And it would also use your computer power in order to to put it up in the cloud, so that it becomes like more, like the more computers it spread on, the more smart Skynet becomes. I'm not a company violating anyone's rights. I'm telling you, a company, you agreed to do a transaction with the company, unlike the government. Well, as I'm saying, like, you would defend Skynet because you would agree to do the transaction. But regarding the government, you can always choose another government. I mean, you have the freedom to go in certain places of the world where the government is destabilized. I mean, you can go in Afghanistan. You know, you can go in the mountains over there, and you're not going to have to pay any taxes. You're not going to have to mind many legislations. Like, there are not going to be that many laws that will infringe on you. So, again, like the idea that you have to do what the government tells you, I don't know, not in 2021 when you can hop on a plane, choose anywhere in the world and you can settle there. In fact, yeah, I'm pretty sure that if you go into Afghanistan by yourself, there's a lot of mountain ranges and places where you can build something and have a very nice life away from the evil arm of the government. Can probably do this as well in the United States. I mean, there are a lot of secluded places where no one is going to ask you anything if you go there. Even in Romania, you have like certain mountains, like there's abandoned villages and stuff. If you set up shop there, like no one is going to check on you and ask you anything about your health. Pigeons are government spy drones. That would be interesting. Pigeons as. You just have to convince the Taliban. Man, even the Taliban, I don't think, are going to be able to regulate. Like, that's the problem with Afghanistan. Is the geography of that land is very difficult for people to control. So even if you were to have like a more quote unquote stable government, even that government would have a problem controlling the entire country. There's a lot of mountains, there's a lot of caves, there's a lot of difficult terrain to navigate. I want an early America without the racism and slavery. I agree, an early America without the racism and slavery would be fun, but I don't think we're ever going to get that unless we start colonizing shit. So Elon Musk, if he manages to colonize Mars a little bit faster, or SpaceX, if they manage to colonize the moon, then maybe we can get something like that. But I just want to point out that if you read history, you'll notice that early America was a little bit more romanticized than you think. That thing that I said in a previous stream, which you thought that I'm pulling out of my ass, the idea that you can sign a contract. So just so you know, like I said in a previous stream, like imagine if a company would colonize the moon, and then you'd sign a contract with the company that you get to work on the moon for 6 months. And when you go there, you realize that you don't like the working conditions, you don't like the working hours, so you want to quit. The company can say, okay, well, fine, you can quit, but we're not sending you back home. You don't have money to pay for a trip back home. And you're like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do? I don't care. You know, we're not violating your rights. You can do whatever. The East India Trading Company would do this a lot. Like, they would take people, they would sign a contract, go on the New World, and once they didn't like the New World, tough shit, they were stuck there. They had no way of turning back. And a lot of people ended up selling themselves into indentured slavery because of it. But anyway. Let's talk about other things. So apparently there is good entertainment on the horizon. There is Injustice, the TV, the movie coming out. So for those of you who don't know, Injustice was a video game. And it was quite a good one at that. The story was great. It had the comic book. It was a bestseller. And in Injustice, the Joker manages to kill not only Lois Lane, but he also kills Superman's unborn child, and he nukes Metropolis. And this causes Superman to go insane, and he becomes a world dictator. And what's really cool about it is that it's a Breaking Bad type of thing, where it doesn't happen overnight. Like, at first, Superman just murders the Joker, and then slowly and slowly, he ushers in a very tyrannical regime. And what's interesting is that not all of the superheroes were against him. In fact, I would say, like, one of the biggest villains in Injustice is Wonder Woman, because she wants the D, right? Like, she wants that vitamin D from Superman. She's a little bit glad that Lois Lane is no more, and now she's got room to play her moves. And she constantly eggs Superman on to do more evil shit. So it's a really great comic book. It's a really good video game. I don't know if the actual movie is going to be that good, but hopefully if it's even half as good as the comic book, then it's going to be awesome. You hate the modern Superman costume? I actually hated when he was in tights. Yeah, in Injustice, Superman just found out that he's going to be a daddy. And after he finds out, boom. It's a really interesting story. Like, what I loved about it is the way that Superman slowly sinks into madness. I mean, it happens so slowly, but if you look at the first issue and then you compare it with the issue 45, it's like, wow, such different. But when you're reading it, it's just like, it's so well written that it seems like all of his decisions make sense. And every time it's just like chipping a little bit more away at people's liberties, just a little bit more. And it's like at the end, you notice just what dystopian hellhole nightmare the people live in. And what's interesting is that people genuinely live in a safe place. I mean, under Superman's regime, there was no crime. People were happy. People lived, like safe lives. But they had absolutely no freedom, absolutely no liberty. And for the smallest crime, they would be punished severely. And it creates like this interesting discussion because a lot of the people enjoyed living under Superman's reign. So it's a really well-written comic book, I think. And hopefully they're going to manage to capture a little bit of that into the movie. No, Batman isn't the only hero that doesn't join them. There's a lot of heroes that don't join them. I think it's Batman, the Arrow. Well, Harley Quinn, but she's like an anti-hero. John Constantine. There's a lot of heroes that oppose Superman. Like they actually have like this DC Civil War type of thing. It's really great. You heard about the Nazi flag towers? Those things were like modern day castles. I'll have to look it up. And thank you for the super chats, by the way. Any other movies you're looking forward to? I've already been excited for Dune. Yeah, so Dune is one of those movies that I haven't seen in a while. I mean, I seen it when I was a kid, but I didn't really had the mind to really grasp it. I think I was 7 or 8 when I saw it. And the only thing I remember is like the Duke Harkonnen being kicked in a worm. I played the Dune game, so I kind of know the universe. I understand the Ordas aren't in the Dune movie, which is kind of sad, but yeah, I'm hyper excited for Dune. But that's kind of it. I mean, Brightburn, the sequel, might be interesting. I like the first one. I love Brightburn, yes. And any other movies that are coming? Not really. I mean, I'm excited about Karate Kid, the new season coming out. And I think like that's kind of it. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad that there's not much that I'm looking forward to when it comes to entertainment. I gotta say, I was very pleasantly surprised about the new game called Pathfinder. So I played the first Pathfinder. I found it very boring. The story was very lame. I did like the mechanics though. I liked a little bit of the combat and everything. But I really hated the story. Sorry, it's not that I hated it. It was just, it didn't click. You know, like compared to Neverwinter, compared to Baldur's Gate, compared to all of that, it was just meh. And the companions were kind of meh. But now that I'm playing the new one is just so fucking cool. I don't even know if it's made by the same people. It's like, I can't stop playing it. And it's kind of bad because it's affecting my work. Like, I need to make videos. But instead, I'm playing Pathfinder. And it's also a boring game to stream, I assume. But it's really great. I fully recommend the new Pathfinder to people. Marxism is Christianity for atheists. Adolf is Satan, and poverty is good, rich are bad, everyone is a sinner. So you're right in a way, but not really. What Marxism does is it's like a parasite, and it leeches from its main host. So you will notice that Marxism for a Muslim nation, like for example the Kurds, a lot of the Kurds are Marxists. They have a different philosophy than the Chinese Marxists, and they have a different philosophy than European Marxists. So yes, in the case of European Marxists, they borrow a lot of things from Christianity, like you have the original sin, you know, white privilege, white guilt. You have the redemption arc where you have to dedicate your life in the service of a greater cause. I mean, there's a lot of things that you're right, like Marxism is like a theology in a way. But it's not really like Christianity. It just depends where it's being applied. Will you do a review on your own channel? Not really. If I do reviews on my lack of entertainment channel, I understand I'm not really good at editing, so I can't make really interesting and edited reviews. But what I can do is review games that no one plays. So if I find the game that I'm really excited about and no one knows about it because it's like very niche, like Helltaker, for example, then I'll make a review of that just to give a heads up that there's a cool game out there which you might be missing. But I'm not planning on making reviews for actual video games that most people know about. Black Raven, I doubt people will watch it. I mean, I have 200 people when I'm not streaming video games. If I stream a video game, I get like 50 or 60 people watching. You know, I know the numbers. I know that I'm not entertaining. I used to have streams back in the day with 500, 600 people watching. I would have guests on and it was fun. But I guess like with the YouTube TOS and all of that, it's just not worth it anymore. Thank you, Reggie. You're saying it's like Catholicism, but if I were to give you like some examples or quotes from the Little Red Book of Chairman Mao, you would see that it's very different to the communism that people had in the USSR. Isn't there many kinds of interpretations of Marxism like the Bible? I like that. Yeah, it's kind of like different denominations. But again, like the Marxism in the United States is very different than the Marxism in China. And this has to do with the Marxism being a parasitic ideology by design. You need capitalism in order to have the revolution. So Marxism isn't something that builds up. It's something that co-opts something already built up. And it retains certain things of the thing that it co-opted. Oh, I just randomly streamed. That is true. Well, I usually stream after uploading the video on my main channel. Maybe do multiplayer with people. I didn't know you can do multiplayer in Pathfinder. I thought you could only do that in Divine Divinity and Baldur's Gate. I don't think so. Like RPGs aren't the type of game that I enjoy playing in multiplayer. I really enjoy playing in multiplayer strategy games. I enjoy playing first-person shooters. RPGs are something that I think it's better savored alone, so you can just take the text in and get immersed. I was watching the Hill News this morning and they were covering Shiran applying for parole. He is claiming it has managed to expunge his toxic masculinity. I don't know who Shiran is. Yeah, so anyway, I'm planning on making a video tomorrow, which will probably get me in trouble, about the Great Reset. And the worst thing that they're proposing, and this is a sneak peek for my tomorrow's video, the worst thing that they're advocating for is a centralized digital bank currency, which means that you're going to have a digital wallet, and technically, like, you don't own the money there. Like, the government can add or, like, they can add or remove money from your wallet whenever they want. So the reason, like, some people would want to use it, because there's advantages to it. The universal basic income is one, so if you don't have a job, you have nothing, well, boom, you get it. Take into account that a lot of people are going to be jobless in the future anyway, because not only are companies just moving their factories to China, but you also have the problem with automation. So the factories that do stay in, mostly automated, and well, maybe Facebook censorship brigade can hire another 1,000 people, but yeah, that's a big problem. So a lot of people will be seduced by the idea of the universal basic income, and I genuinely think that maybe it's something that needs to happen anyway. If in the future the economy is just not going to be able to hire people. Like, if you're going to have like 20% of the population without jobs, I mean, you're going to have riots on the streets. You're going to have massive unrest. So I don't know. I mean, the idea of UBI isn't necessarily evil. It's pretty much like the bread and circus that the Romans gave for their citizens. Because you have to understand, in the Roman Empire, people had slaves. So because people had slaves, it was actually the freed citizens that had problems. Because if you were a free citizen, if you're a part of the plebeian class, and you're like, okay, I want to get a job, people would laugh at you. It's like, why would you need you? Like, we got slaves. We don't want to pay you, right? So that is a problem. Now, the issue with UBI is that, okay, so that's why people would want to have this digital wallet. Another reason would be the convenience. Like, you wouldn't have to do your taxes. And you know, like, how people love convenience. I mean, they're willing to use social media even though they give away their privacy. People prefer convenience over non-convenience. Even though, like, people are aware that, okay, your phone is being tracked. Like, Apple knows where you're at just because your phone has a tracker in it. Like, people use it anyway, right? So you would be able to have this thing which does your taxes automatically, because they would know how much money comes in and how much money you give. I mean, think about it this way, right? Imagine you have a digital wallet and you're driving with a car and you're speeding. And you have like those cameras, those radars that catch you when you're speeding, and you're like, boom, 100 miles per hour. You would instantly, like the moment the flash comes, the moment they even notice your car, they notice your face, and in that second, the fine for the speeding is being taken away from you. So you don't have to go to a cop anymore, you don't have to pay it online, it's just like boom, instantly paid. You can set all your bills to be paid automatically, you don't have to go to a bank. Okay, so there's a lot of advantages. The disadvantage, however, okay, imagine that the government wants to limit consumption of meat, right? Global warming is bad. You're not allowed to buy meat. With that thing, like, it would know exactly what you're buying. So you buy meat once a week. If you want to buy another, it gives you an error. It doesn't allow you to buy it. Now, you might find that to be a little bit too much, but under communism in Romania, that was the system we had. You had the number of meat, like I think it was like 2 kilograms of meat that you could eat per month. So, like that's a thing. Imagine in Australia, right? The government wants to issue lockdowns. It could make it so that your app doesn't work if you go out of your house. So you can purchase stuff from home, but if you went outside, boom, it's not working. Because it's connected to your phone, it's got your location over there. So, it's, I'm just being cynical over here. I'm thinking of the worst case scenario. But here's the question. What would prevent certain governments, like in Australia, to do the worst case scenario? What would prevent the government to do the excesses? Like, why would the government not do the excesses is what I'm curious. And I'm pretty sure, like the thing is going to be like in the beginning, it's going to be really nice. It's going to be as advertised, just like Facebook was as advertised, and more people would want to use it. But after a while, you just have a little bit of more regulations and more. Just so you know, in China, they already have the system. And in China, they're saying it's like, look, you get your money at the beginning of the month. If you don't spend it, by the end of the month, it's gone. So it encourages people to consume. So you get your wage, and it also prevents people from hoarding cash, which socialists like. All right, only because the thing is, if you're rich, if you're Bill Gates, you can hoard as much cash as you want. You just buy property. So if you're Bill Gates, you just buy property, and it doesn't matter what the app happens. You buy farmland if you're Bill Gates. So people who are rich, the ones that won the Great Reset, they can still be in power. They just buy farmland, they just buy houses, they just buy things. So yeah, it's something that I hope we're not going to notice. But I'll tell you the white pill. I'll tell you the good thing on why this isn't going to happen. And the reason this isn't going to happen is because they would need some kind of citizen, an identification card, a passport, right? Like they would need some papers, some passport that they could fit onto this system, something that they could latch on to this digital currency. And like Americans don't have ID. They don't. They don't have like the culture of like papers. Can I see your papers? Do you have papers to enter this place? Can I see your papers? They don't have that. So because of that, I'm hopeful that it's not going to happen. We don't have papers to go around and show everywhere, right? So there's that. I mean, you already have in the United States like the idea that it would be racist to ask for ID to vote, because black people, according to the Democrats, are less likely to have an ID, right? So there are no system that requires people to show papers. Yes. I think I said what needs to be said, huh? Oh no, like not everyone has a driving license. No, there are people that don't have a driving license. No, it would be something that everyone would have. It should be like something that even teenagers have, right? So it should be like even kids should have it. But luckily, there isn't such a thing. And the government would never do such a thing, because it would be fascism. You know, the idea of papers, can I see your papers? Hey, monsieur, do you want to enter the restaurant? Can I see papers? Can I see your papers? I need to see identification, right? That thing doesn't exist, so there's that. Ihre Papieren bitte. Yes. By the way, speaking of restaurants, right? Like, I noticed this, I noticed this in a lot of restaurants where I go into. I thought it's only an American thing, but it seems to be also a Romanian thing, becoming more and more. So you go into a restaurant, and immediately the lady over there freaks the fuck out the moment she sees you. She freaks out. It's like, oh my god, mask up. You need to wear a mask. And I'm like, oh shit. And I put the mask. I turn into Darth Vader. And the lady goes like, alright. She calms down. You know, instantly crisis averted. And I sit at a table, I order food, and then I can take the mask off. So my question is, if I'm in a room, like, I'm allowed to sit on a table without the mask because I need to eat the food, right? I don't know the eating jutsu. I can't eat through my asshole. But from the door to the table, I need to mask up. But at the table, I can take the mask off. So what does the science say? Did Fauci weigh in on this? I'm really curious. Like, how does this work? I'm not criticizing. I'm pretty sure, like, people more wise than me have said this system. But I'm curious, like, how exactly is this system working? If you do that faster, it's Transformers. But if you can teleport at the table, can you imagine? Like that, how many lives you could save? If you could just teleport at the table. And then all of the walking would be... Because at the table, I understand it's safe. The virus doesn't sit at the table. The virus is outside, huh? Virus is the waiter. Don't bring logic into it. There is literally no testing method for the Delta variant. Actually, there is. They do... I think they do splicing or some shit. I have a... I don't know how to translate it into English, but there is, and it's very expensive. In Romania, we do it, from what I understand, only to people that traveled in London or in India or in places like that, and they got it. And like for them, they might test it, and then they do like what's it called? A statistical analysis, like they do like the percentages, but like, yes, like not every single patient gets tested. Unless you're willing to pay for it, I think. Sorry, I had to water my throat. Water the throat. Right now, the politician thinks they spend the money better than you will. No, I'll tell you the problem with the politicians right now. There was a system in the world where a politician could come up and buy votes. So how does a politician buy votes? Well, he will say he's going to build more schools. And then he makes a loan, which is going to be paid in 30 years. And he's going to be like, well, it's not going to be my problem in 30 years. I don't give a fuck, right? So he makes the loan. And then the next politician comes in and he also buys votes, makes another loan and another loan. And if you look at a graph, it shows that the debt in many countries is so high compared to the blue line that it's not feasible. It's not going to hold. So what a lot of nations are doing right now is that they're printing money. And they're constantly printing and printing and printing and printing. To the point where eventually the system will collapse. Now, everyone knows that the system will collapse. Like, there's experts that talked about it since the 2008 crisis. It's nothing new. The only problem is, like, what happens when the system collapses? Because once the system collapses, we know from history just how bad things are. Like, if the financial system collapses, it's going to be a calamity the likes none of us have ever witnessed in our lifetime. So, they're going to look at alternatives. And one alternative is using gold currency. But many nations don't want to go with the gold currency. I mean, the Brits have sold the most of their gold a couple of years ago. The United States, I mean, I don't know. I think the US can actually do well with the gold system, but even there, like, there's way too many people than there used to be. So that's a problem. The only thing that they can do is either the digital currency shit that I talked about, or Bitcoin. So I think if the digital currency shit fails, they're going to go over to Bitcoin. But this is what the Great Reset is really all about. It's the wealthy people at Davos, which realize that a crash is coming, and they want to maintain their wealth after the crash. So when they say Great Reset, what they mean is like resetting the debt. Like they want to get out of the debt so that things can begin again in a system that they're more likely to control so that it doesn't go out of a debt. And if you think about it, like with the digital system that the government controls, then they can set exactly how much money you have. For example, they can say, where the people are hoarding way too much wealth. Spend your wealth in 1 month or it's going to be obsolete. Or they can say, people need to buy more of blah, blah, blah. If you buy more of blah, 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 you get some tax exemptions or whatnot. I mean, they will have so much control over the finances and therefore over people's lives. It's going to be unreal. Now, I don't know if that system is sustainable or not. I mean, you're going to have a very interesting time telling the American that they cannot buy more, as much meat as they want, or they can't consume as much as they want. So I don't know. That's what they say when they call it "you will own nothing and be happy." Is the idea that literally you will not own your money, right? So you think you have your money, but you don't, because at any point the government can just take it away, give you more. Like do when they do a stimulus bill like they did in America, like boom, they can inject it right into your app. It's well, I mean, I can't even say if it's good or bad. It's just like something that my mind can't even wrap around. I can't even imagine living in such a system. It feels like a video game, to be honest. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that when you look at the government printing trillions and trillions, if you look at it like, oh, they're going to fix the economy, it doesn't make sense. But if you look at it, they want to crash the economy, then it makes complete sense. Prevents people from climbing the financial ladder, keeps the rich in control and everyone else a serf class. Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's Romanian communism online. That's how I would describe it. It's a very similar system to how it was in Romania. Like, for example, in Romania, under communism, it was illegal. Like, you could actually go to jail for this if you owned dollars. So if you had any USD, any foreign currency in your home, you could go to prison for it. And the reason is, like, they didn't want any alternative than the Romanian currency to exist, a currency which they could manipulate as much as they wanted. If they wanted to print more money, they printed more money. If they wanted to take money out of circulation, they did so. So that was, and it was, I think, I don't know if it's just in Romania, but it was illegal to burn money. Like, that's something that I think doesn't exist in the United States. Like, someone from US should tell me this. Like, would it be legal to do what the Joker did? To get a pile of cash and set fire to it? In Romania, it was illegal. Like, even one banknote. If you set fire to it, it was a crime. Waiting for the chat to catch up with my latest hot takes. You can burn money in the US? Okay. In Romania, it was illegal. It's very interesting. Like, and I think it's interesting because at some point, maybe people did it as a form of protest. Like, I don't know why. Because usually you have a law like that if people actually do something in order to get the government to ban it. And it's not only that, what else did they have? So you couldn't burn money, you couldn't buy currency. Oh yeah, but the thing with communism is that you had rations. So if you wanted, for example, to go to grocery, to the grocery store, like one person could buy half a liter of oil per month. So even if you had money, if you spent your ration, you couldn't buy more oil. Um, Meat was rationed, gas was rationed. Like, my God, if I'm thinking about it, it's like the communists in Romania were really, really fighting against global warming. So you couldn't buy meat, except I think it was like a kilogram of chicken and half a kilogram of pork per month. You couldn't buy oil, you couldn't buy sugar, you couldn't buy gas, you couldn't buy, like, a lot of things were ration only. So you could have money for it, you could show them, and they would just not sell it. And what's interesting is if you had your own pig and you wanted to slaughter your pig, you had to take it to a slaughterhouse, and the state would get 90% of the pig and you would only get 10% of it. So you could have your own pig, you could feed it, you could do whatever. But when it was about slaughtering it, if you were to go on your farm and slaughter your pig by yourself, that was a crime. You had to give the state 90% of your pork. It's insane, right? Like, can you imagine living like that? The Romanians did, and it lasted for decades, by the way. Like, it takes time, and it was only because the Soviet Union crashed. Like, if the Soviet Union didn't crash, this would have kept going. Use a bolas to catch it. Well, no, it's like, it's not that people wouldn't do it, by the way. Like, there were people that broke the law and obviously sacrificed their own pork, because it was their pig at the end of the day. But the problem was with the fact that you could get arrested. Like, if a neighbor snitched on you, you were fucked. With a cow, you weren't allowed to kill it. So cows were pretty much like in India, sacred animals. You could only have a cow for milk, and that's it. That's actually why Romania doesn't have a meat culture when it comes to cows. We have almost no dishes made out of cows, like that are Romanian specialties. We don't have the concept of breeding cows for meat. The cow was just the animal that you would have in order to drink milk from. And maybe pull the plow or whatever if you had a bull. But other than that, no. Like, and you weren't allowed to keep it past a certain year. So I think it was like 2 years that you had to take it to a slaughterhouse, and the state would take the cow away from you. You weren't allowed to actually kill the cow or even get a piece of its meat. Like the Bretonians. Oh yeah, very good analysis. There is nothing like catching and slaughtering your own food stock. Yeah, so I gotta say, I think every person should kill a chicken at a farm. You get a lot more respect for the animal. I see a lot of people that are wasteful, like city dwellers that, they throw away food. They don't appreciate the fact that, I think, like, most people don't even understand that there's an actual animal in there. And I'm not a vegan, all right? I'm not telling you that you shouldn't eat meat, but what I'm telling you is that you should appreciate the meat that you're eating. You should understand that an animal lost its life and probably lived in abhorrent conditions in order for you to get meat. So throwing it away is not only wasteful, I don't know if I can even use the word disrespectful, but you get what I'm coming from. The beef was for the party members. No, people could get beef, but it was very rare that you could find it in a store. And I think the ration for it was like the lowest. Like, if you chose to eat beef, you would actually have to give away the pork. What about goats? I think goats were fine. You still had to send, like, the percentage to the state, like, pay the taxes for the goats, but overwhelmingly, like, goats were not as sacred as the cows. Hunting actually works, though. Elevate that sense of waste. Yeah, like hunting as well. Pretty much, like, you need to understand our great grandparents lived like this, right? Like, they grew up with a farm. They would have to cut their own chickens. They would have to cut their own pork. And you gain respect for the animal by doing this. You realize that you shouldn't be wasteful. You realize that you should be more appreciative of the things that you have. I believe that everyone should hunt at some point in time. Well, like bow and arrow or a spear. In which way, Abdi? I don't know. I mean, hunting today is definitely not the type of hunting that people used to do. Um, Depends what you're hunting, of course, but really to sit in some foliage with a high-powered rifle and to shoot at some birds flying while a dog chases and gets the kill, I don't really think that's how should I don't really think that's the same like our ancestors did with bows and arrows and stuff like that not only took skill, that also took courage. Oh, with bare hands. Yeah, I don't think I ever heard about in the history of mankind people hunting with bare hands, unless you consider trapping. Like you set a trap and then the rabbit goes in. Like maybe that's an actual hunt, but other than that, no. Good for kids, builds character. Fishing rod. Oh my god, I hate fishing rods. Like the concept disgusts me. I'm not against eating fish, but the idea of pulling an animal with a hook by his jaw is just ugh. Lab grown meat is already a thing. Yeah, I'm not against that, to be honest. We invented tools and you don't want to use them. Well, I guess it's at a point where the tool simplifies the job so much that it removes most sense of difficulty from it. Like, for example, I can, reproduce the Mona Lisa right now. I can use a printer. I can go online. I can find a picture of the Mona Lisa and I can print it. But I don't think you would call me an artist for doing it. You would, I'm pretty sure that in the past when Michelangelo existed, if I were to show him this ability, it's like, look, Michelangelo, I can do the Mona Lisa. And then you print it in front of him, like he would probably drop in his knees in awe and respect, and he would think that I'm the greatest painter ever. But today, like when people know how technology works, like they would just roll their eyes. They would be like, you're not a painter, get the fuck out. I guess, Abdi. It also depends on where you're hunting. So, yeah, I mean, if you're in the United States and you have a lot of land where you can hunt, then it would be fun. But here in Romania, in the city, it would. I mean, I would have to travel so much just to go to a hunting ground, and I don't think it's worth it. Like it may be a skill that I could always have, but I don't see it using it as for survival, if you know what I mean. Using a crossbow. Do people hunt with crossbows? That would be fucking cool. Lab meat is full of estrogen. Well, I'm not really that concerned about what I'm putting inside me. I mean, I don't smoke, so I guess I have a clean bill to eat other things. I drink a lot of Pepsi, though. Rabbits can be executed with a well-aimed stone. Get the fuck out. Dude, if I see you doing that, I would be impressed. If I see someone, go out hunting, but instead of a gun, they take a stone and they manage to down the animal with the stone, I'm like, holy shit. Well, here I am robbing politically defined blind. V, you should talk to hunters. Even with a rifle, it isn't easy task. Also, some prey are a whole lot harder. Like boars, take quite a bit down. Yeah, so I actually mentioned this, all right? I did say this. I don't know if you just joined the chat, but I did say that it depends on the prey you're hunting. Yeah, boars are pretty much nature's tanks. Like, boars are the FU from Mother Gaia. I showed this picture before, but there was like this commentary on Twitter, like some city folk, and he was talking about a guy, and he was mocking him. It's like, oh, so why do you need an assault rifle for? And the guy was like, because I have boars on my property. And it's like, why don't you just use a gun? And I'm thinking like, motherfucker, like how detached from reality are you? Like if you use a gun against this thing, not only does it ricochet, like you're shooting bullets at Goku, it also goes Super Saiyan and fucks your ass. Actually, no, it doesn't even need to go in its final form. Just look at it. Just look at these things. They're monstrous. They don't even need the anime training arc. They fuck you up just by looking. I guess anime gets it quite right. Look at these things. Just imagine, like you're out in the woods taking a piss, and then this thing notices you. What do? The answer, nothing. You're dead. Well, it depends how merciful the hog is, I guess. Look at this shit. No, seriously. Shit, look at this. This thing is, my God. And the worst image that you can get in the forest is if you see the big hog and next to it, there's little hogs. Then you know you're fucked. Then you know, like, there is no way out. Like, you can start contacting your lawyer and hope that your will is already made. They're mostly peaceful. Yeah, they're mostly peaceful, except in the situation that I described, where you see it in the forest and you see the big hog, and with like a long line of little hogs walking behind it. Then you're fucked. Like, literally. There's nothing you can do to appease the beast. I don't even know if shotgun works. I think you need armor piercing. I think you need a grenade launcher or something. Yeah, they're notoriously mean-tempered. But no, like, the chat told me they're fine. The chat told me they're peaceful. Put a domestic pig out in the wild and it will revert. I actually heard that. I heard, like, there were a couple of farms that lost pigs. And over the course of years, like over the course of decades, those pigs reverted into boars. I was like, wow. But I also think it's because they mated with wild boars. Maybe that. It's like they're more afraid of you than they are of them. Look, motherfucker, like, I have arachnophobia, all right? I'm more afraid of the spider than he is of me. Do you know what happens? That spider, that's what it happens. Like, I take the frying pan and I take a large spoon and I become the Romanian warrior, and it's a death match with the spider the moment I designate it. Like, one of us is walking out, the other one isn't. Like, I would rather have the spider mother crying rather than my mom crying, is what I'm saying. So, if you're telling me that the boar is more afraid of me, yeah, maybe. But in that situation, I'm the spider and the boar is the Romanian warrior. There's no way out. I have never seen a wild boar burn down a sheriff's office. I don't understand where this comes up. To see a wild boar burn down a sheriff's office. No, but if a wild boar is on your farm and you have your kids playing outside, I think that would be a problem. Yeah, exactly, AWOL. You'll just anger Loth. Well, at least Loth has those sexy draw that, they look sexy and they're very well versed into the art of coitus. So at least maybe I'm going to get a pleasant death. Wild boar domestic pig hybrids are freaks from the Stone Age. They grow huge. Yeah, so it's the same thing with the liger. The liger is a mixture between a tiger and a lion, and they go massive. Hogs require larger caliber, up to anti-material 50 caliber. Fuck! I was told by a hunter that he unloaded a 10-round 45 caliber into a boar, and it kept coming. No, hold on. I need to see what the anti-material 50 cal rifle looks like. So, anti-material 50. Now I'm curious. Jesus Christ. Okay, so you need this monstrosity. And apparently after putting, like 10 rounds into a boar, it's still coming? I'm telling you, these are the nature's tanks. Alright, just so we can understand. This is... What? God. Can you imagine? It's like it's silent in the woods, and all of a sudden, and all the crows are like, It's like, what the fuck happens? Are the Russians invading? No. The hunter found its prey. Yeah, but I just want to point out that people were hunting boars in medieval time before the 50 caliber anti-material rifle was invented. So the question is no. I just want to point out that people with sticks, okay, like just so you can understand the difference in masculinity. People with sticks would take this thing down. Okay, like they would go hunting and they would take this thing down. Now, don't think that they used bows and arrows, because they didn't. Apparently what they used was tight formations and a spear wall. They would actually encircle the board and do a spear wall. Now, I personally wouldn't want to be in that spear wall. I don't even know if they use shields. They probably did use shields. Why not? That's known as boar hunting season in Ohio, yeah. Medieval times were with bows and crossbows. Yeah, you shoot a bow at a boar, it's going to piss it off. That's what it's going to do. It's probably not even going to feel it, but you're definitely going to feel the 100 kilogram boar just causing an earthquake as it's rushing towards you. I think, no, I think like what they would use is traps. Like they could just dig a hole in the ground, cover it with leaves or something, and hope the boar falls in, and then they would spear it from above. I think that's the only way they could do it. Yeah, with mastodons, they probably use pits and other assists, as you say. They would set traps. Prong spear so the boar wouldn't climb up. Yeah, by the way, no shields. I'll tell you an animal that does require shields. So, apparently this is one of the most deadly birds in the world. Of course, it lives in Australia because Australia is a deaf planet. And they have them in the zoo. Now, the reason this is the most lethal bird is because the legs, they have like these very sharp talons. As you can notice, they're the size of a large knife. I mean, if this bird walks in Britain, the police is going to stop and frisk, and it's going to arrest the bird. But they're very aggressive, right? So what they do is they jump and they disembowel you. They can literally kill a person in one swift motion. So when they go when they go into the zoo to feed it or to clean its enclosure, if you look at YouTube videos, you will see that usually they make a shield wall, like 3 or 4 guys that are very strong, and they have you know, that those type of riot shields, those type of shields that are transparent, and they go and they form a shield wall, and that's the only way they can go into the enclosure. They also have like I don't know if they use bitting sticks or whatnot, but they definitely use something in order to keep it the fuck away. Look at this. The cassowary killed a man on Friday on his property, likely using its long claws. The victim, whose name was not released, was apparently breeding the birds. It looked like it was accidental. The jailbird was in the vicinity of the bird and he fell. Yeah, so I guess like these would be also just as scary as the hog. It's okay. Cassowaries are in the north. I'm in the south. Okay, well. Cassowary are just Chad ostriches, yes. An ostrich can also fuck you up. I don't know how many people are aware of that, but if you get a kick from an ostrich, you might be sent flying. Yeah, by the way, like there's also another thing that I'm wondering. So I'm pretty much sure that all of you are aware about this species of parrot, right? The cockatoo. So the cockatoo is a parrot which is kind of as big as a chicken. I mean, you can see just how by comparing it to the hand of this person that it's still not an adult. I don't think this is an adult either. All right. Like here's a better example, right? It's kind of like a chicken. The only difference is that the beak has the ability to break bone. Like if it wants to fuck you up, it will fuck you up. I seen it on YouTube. Like it gave a broom, and it just the broom broke, and I'm like, holy shit. So I think there's a place in. I might be wrong on this one. All right, I don't want to embarrass myself, but I think it's Brazil, and they actually live in the wild. So my question is like, what the fuck do you do if they come on your table at a restaurant and they want to pick the food? Like how do you shoo it away? How do you? No, seriously, like what is the answer to this? Because I don't think there's an answer. I think it's like, well, you just allow it to do its thing and you don't bother it. Oh look, Kelly Billard is here. They destroy streetlights to get to the bugs. Yeah, holy shit, I didn't think about that. Does it taste like chicken? I don't think anyone ate one. Oh, they call them big chickens in Australia. Look up coconut crabs. Come on, it's a crab. How bad can it be? Oh my god. Oh shit. This gets my arachnophobia tingling. Oh, why is it touching it? Put it down. Oh, calm down. No. This is photoshopped, isn't it? This is photoshopped. Like, no way. No fucking way. Oh my god. Oh, put it down, man. Put it down. Why are you doing this? Oh, God. No. This is nightmarish. I'm sorry. I'm just no. Good God. Let me guess. Australia? Now I know why the people in Australia aren't that upset about the lockdowns. Why they're not protesting more. I mean, if that shit is on the street, I would be happy to be locked up in my home. They're harmless? Get the fuck out! I don't care if they're harmless. They're creepy. That is exactly what my mom taught me when she said stranger danger. That is like it's a stranger. I don't know that. I don't know, so it's danger. Look up spider crabs. What the fuck am I going to find out now? Spider crabs. Oh, come on. Really? Good. Look, if something like this comes up to me and wants to survive, the only way it can do that is by lowering itself and showing submission. Like, the way it lifts itself like this scares the living shit out of me. And it doesn't like it when I'm scared. Oh my god. I'm so glad I don't live in the ocean. Like, all of the stuff that's in the ocean is... Like, you think like horror movies are scary, but all you have to do is to look into some of the pictures that are taken from the dark deep. Okay, so let me tell you something. See if we can find the scale. I don't know if I can find something accurate, but I think we can go with this. So, when you look at the oceans, you get the sea level, and this is, you know, what most people know about. And then you get 200 meters with shrimp and shit. But as you go to 1,000 meters and below, it's a place called the Dark Deep. And it's called the Dark Deep because no light ever goes in there. So, just so you can understand, when you're flying a commercial flight, you're probably at an altitude of 7,000 kilometers in the air. And that's really, really high. I mean, you're looking out and you're not seeing anything. It's just the clouds. There are places in the world that are the reverse, but under the water. So it would be like a mirror of you flying the commercial. And you find things like this. You know, it's yikes. Look at this. This is what goes on there. Look at this shit. And apparently we don't even know what's going on there because the pressure is so high that even like the strongest submarines, when they start going up until this level, you hear the submarine hull starting to crack because, like, from what I understand, is like the pressure of one Boeing pressing against the submarine from every direction. 7,000 kilometers. I meant 7,000 meters. My bad. My bad. Every time I make a mistake, see, the chat is aware. I get the fact check. Who needs fact checkers when I have a chat? That's what people need. They need the chat, the fact check. The stuff you need the Witcher to take care of. Yes. It is ugly. But man, like some of the things in the water, I mean, one of the ugliest things is this. I think I showed this before, but this is a snapping turtle. Or no, sorry, not the snapping turtle. Leatherback turtle. Yes. So imagine you're in underwater and you're placing your hand under a rock in order to find a pearl or something, and instead you get this. I mean, and apparently, like once they bite, they don't open up again. So I've been told by a veterinarian, which is a friend of mine. It's like, okay, so obviously we're not talking about this type of turtle, but like if something like this, okay, if it bites your hand, like how do you try to get your hand back? Because it doesn't open the mouth. Apparently what you do is you pour water over its nostrils, or you press your hand on its nostrils, and you're hoping, you're praying that it's going to gasp for air. The things you know. Okay, got a super chat. Oh my god. What is this? What are they doing to these poor things? What is this blue substance? I mean, I'm pretty sure they're harvesting something. I just don't know what. Is it like an anti-venom? Like what is this? Yeah, you need to waterboard the turtle to get your hand back. Have I ever petted a cheetah? You mean like a cheetah? No, I never managed to do one. But like, yeah, I know cheetahs are one of the less dangerous wild cats in the zoo. But why are they taking their blood? What are they doing with the blood is what I want to know. Their blood contains copper? Really? So they have like noble blood? Yeah, the Mariana Trench has like 8,000 meters, so 8 kilometers. Okay, I was a little bit wrong when I said 7,000 kilometers. I meant 7,000 meters. So yeah, the Mariana Trench goes all the way down to 8,000 meters. Just so you know, it's like it's a lot. Like if you reverse Mount Everest, it wouldn't reach the bottom of the ocean. Oh, it's what Luke Skywalker was drinking. I see. I think they're nobles, yes. Anyway, well, I managed to keep the stream a little bit longer than I initially wanted. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section. And thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chats. And I'll see you guys later. Take care.